Okay, how you guys doing? This is Alex here with Alec Bledsoe. This is going to be our third interview together. Alec Bledsoe texted me the other day, and he seemed like he wanted to get something off his chest. He really wanted to, like, he's like, when can we do another interview? And I'm like, dude, anytime you want. So he's a busy guy. I'm a busy guy. So we got together. So Alec, thank you very much for coming here and doing another interview. What is it that you want to get off your chest that made you want to get back on for a third time?
A couple things. For one, there's this time of year, there's a lot going on with any record because it's nice down in Florida, so everyone goes south, wants to break records. And then when that happens, it gets all over the internet, and it kind of veers from drag racing, in my opinion. Drag racing is about racing each other, not setting records to swing your dick around on the internet, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So real racing's a lot harder than going down the racetrack by yourself on a solo run. Now I do that stuff for R&D purposes in my green car or whatever it might be. And I also tune a lot of stuff that races competitively and we win, or we're very competitive. And I just want to kind of talk about those things and a lot of lies that go on in the industry that gets the general public believing stuff, and they shouldn't. It's like the CNN news out there. It's like it's
fake
hard
news.
Yeah,
right. So back in because you're young, you're not even. Are you even 30 years old yet?
Just turned 29.
Hey, happy birthday. So I used to think that a record only counted during competition. If you go on a unofficial pass, let's say you have an NHRA top fuel car, and during testing it runs a 350 or 350 miles an hour, that's not counted. That's basically saying it's during testing. Only during qualifying or competition does a record stand. Do you subscribe to that model of record? Because I see world record, like if Guinness showed up to that motherfucker and certified it. Do you think record should be only recognized during competition, or a fucking testing drag and drive test session should be counted?
I'm on both sides of that, and the reason why I say that is if I didn't have a shop, I would probably say competition only. If you race a specific built car for the class and you're out testing on a super glued up track, and all the stars line up a lot easier than going to World Cup, for example, and racing on that prep, which is good, but racing 40,000 in front of 40,000 people, racing a guy next to you, there's a lot of things that play into a factor. So, but I have a car that I test and I technically post on our YouTube breaking records, but man, really it's not about the record breaking for me. It doesn't matter for me to break a record in the 1.7 blower. It's just such a challenge for me to go that fast. So I've been working up to, like, I want 840s in my car and just track rentals, back in 2022. Yeah. And this past year I ran World Cup finals in Mean Street, going 840s again. I changed the combination around. But I was racing in front of a lot of people. And obviously, my reputation's on the line. A lot of people know what the car is, especially in the GM game.
Right.
And I didn't want to look like a dumbass in front of everybody. So I was going 40s consistently. I qualified mid-pack. That Monday, I stayed the day after and got after it. And I tried some new stuff, and I went 820s. So technically, I broke my own record. So I don't know what you really want to consider. Probably, I would say competition, probably. A real record would be, yeah, because you're class racing to rules, and I think that's way more impressive than a free for all, in my opinion. So
right. So then, what subsequently happens when someone with a 1.7 blower with your platform runs a number, and then maybe a competitor, someone else starts running quicker or similar, and then it becomes like, we really have the record. And then you kind of start going, well, you're comparing apples to oranges, right? Like your car has a 1.7 blower, built motor, built trans. What gear ratio is in the rear? What's the common gear ratio that those things?
It's a stock gear rate. It's 285 in the rear, but
Jesus,
stock.
you guys got 285. Cool. 6 or 80 guys would love that gear ratio in the back, or even 10 or 80 guys. So does the industry kind of like make that accomplishment? Does it lessen it? Does it basically misinform the people out there as to what they got going on in their car just to make
Pretty
an
much
accomplishment? Really?
Yeah. So like in my opinion, like if someone came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, I want to do what your green car is doing," I'd be like, "Okay, we're gonna put a 2650 on it because I know what it takes to put that 1.7 through hell. Like you got to build something serious for it to handle it. Like, and people are trying to catch me, for example. Okay, so you got in the shops. It's kind of fun going back and forth with the shops. That's why I kind of like it. But we're so far out in ahead right now, it's really not fun anymore. These guys are stuck in the 870 zone.
Okay.
In a ZL1. Now, the fastest LT. So, not only do we have the fastest LT4 blower in any platform now, which came in the C7 Z06, the ZL1, and the CTSV third generation.
V3, gotcha.
V3, yeah. I'm faster than the Vet, which the fastest Vet I think is like 844, I think, or something. I went 826, but now I'm the fastest OEM Gen 5 blower, so that means any direct injection GM car ever made, which the C7 ZR1's the Mac Daddy. That's a factory 2650 car.
Okay.
And that fastest one was 833, and I passed it with my 1.7 blower.
Okay.
And it's really not for bragging rights, man. It's takes a lot to do that. Now, when I say that, it takes a lot of stuff in house to do that. You don't just buy parts from Cam Motion and Frankenstein or LME and bolt them on the car.
Right.
We have a lot of one-off stuff on that thing and I've killed it before running 840s. Like I had pistons in there that were just off the shelf diamonds that were losing tension in the rings because the blower is creating so much heat. There's a lot of stuff I don't say on YouTube, but I'm not scared to say it. Like we failed when we went fast as well.
Okay.
And so if you pay attention in one of our YouTube videos, I know I'm kind of getting off track with YouTube stuff, but
you're good.
We came back after World Cup. I took the motor apart because that's how, like, it's very hard to keep it together at that level. So I have like a really thick top ring in it now, tool steel. Like the top rings are $800 for a ring pack.
Really?
Like I wouldn't, I wouldn't do that I wouldn't build that kind of a motor for someone else. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't need it with a 2650 in my opinion. So yeah, I'm doing some one-off stuff, and I keep it a big secret of what I do because I tune a lot of race car stuff, and it kind of follows into the street car stuff when you start really leaning on things. So, but anyways, I take the motor apart and I inspect it. There's really nothing wrong with it, but I just wanted to inspect the bore sizes, if it's bowing the bore out of it or losing tension in the ring, and if it's waffling the piston skirt, whatever it might be. What is it hammering the bearing out of it? Just so I can see that and catch it before it has a serious issue. Now you have to do that when I'm spinning my blower the way I'm doing. Like, people ask me all the time what the blower RPM and stuff is, and I don't tell them because the problem is they're going to try it, and you cannot try it on a heads cam LT4. Your power curve is going to fall off of 5,500 and you're going to lift the heads clean off the thing because it's just the blower isn't made to do that. So you have to have the engine combination to carry itself up there. But
okay, without giving away secrets, is it a stroke differential between what you had and have?
It's stroke differential. I had a custom crank made for it. It's rod ratio. It's camshaft. It's all of it. I had some special one-off stuff in my cylinder heads. So yeah, and I can give out secrets and stuff and this goes in any blower combination. Like I'll give out a little secret. Everyone wants support heads or everyone wants to see flow numbers, but everyone misses the exhaust side.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get the air out.
Right.
So, if you're only flowing 60% on the exhaust side of your intake, then you need to make a camshaft change, put a shit ton of duration on the exhaust side of it. I'm talking LS or single cam stuff, not Coyote. But
But it's same theory. It's same theory because if it's variable, you can actually typically not necessarily have more duration because you can't change the lobe, but you can definitely change when the event happens. You can change the valve opening event on, depending on what the car likes. Actually, we can basically prevent valve float with tuning.
Dude,
But
I wish we could do that. I'm so jealous of that, to be honest with you.
I'm telling you, once you start messing with dual overhead cam stuff, it's gonna mind fuck you because think about it this way. I can overlap whatever I want to overlap, intake to exhaust. I can start the cam intake valve opening sooner or later and have the exhaust come in just, either just after or just before or during. I can kind of do whatever. You're going to be like, holy shit, I am like in heaven right now because I'm going to swing the cams all over the place. And with a cam and block, you have to physically change the cam to have that happen.
So you can change on a single cam application. This is why I like race cars. I actually wish I had a Jessel front drive on my car, but I'm not going.
So you can
so you can loosen 4 bolts up and retard it or advance it and make a dyno run. And I've done that on race car stuff, or I've done that at the track when we're out of turbo when the thing's 2.5 to 1 back pressure and we're trying to get everything we can out.
Holy shit.
So
fuck. Oh my god.
So but you have to run them that hard in your class racing to win. And a lot of people don't. I kind of want to go into that detail, but so yeah, I would love to have that and like I would say that's 80% of what you can get done with your power band and how much power you make. But then there's a lot of stuff that really goes into a deep factor with a single cam is your lift your duration at 200 numbers and stuff that doesn't even get posted on a cam card.
Right.
So like, you can have the same duration and same lift and same LSA, advance, whatever it might be on 2 different cams, but the duration is different at 200 lift. Typically, the more duration at 200 lift, you will make more power, but the problem is you have to control it. So at high RPM, it'll start floating the valve, especially on hydraulic roller stuff.
Right.
Then you start going solid roller. You have to have a lot of spring pressure and, starting to get more race car, but it does make more power. And everyone in the GM game's like, oh, hydraulic roller makes the same as solid. No, it doesn't.
No, fuck it out of here.
It's not even fucking close.
Who said that? Like, who said that?
Everyone in the GM game, dude. Everyone.
Stop.
And you'd be surprised. Like, I'm talking people that make camshafts in the GM game.
Oh my god, they're telling you that they'll say hydraulic roller and solid is line on line. Oh, come on, man.
So, and it's just fucking crazy because like everyone that has a LS really isn't going
solid roller.
No, but they're not going 4.0 in the 8th, or they're not going 6 anything. They're going 790s or 750s, and that's easy to do. That's so fucking easy on a twin turbo setup. I don't care what you get. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably gonna hurt some feelings saying this, but
here we go.
if you have a turbo 400 car and twin 6870s or 6466s, I don't give a damn how heavy the car is. If it's 3,500 pounds, the motherfucker should go low 7s. Like, no problem. Like, easily. You have a trans brake.
What kind of engine are we talking about here? What kind of engine?
I feel like really anything. You can do it Coyote. You should be able to do it Coyote, GM stuff, like anything. It should be. And like these guys, so like there's Cadillac Attack. This is what I'm funneling into. There was Cadillac Attack this past week, and what that is, if people don't know what this we're talking about, is once a year it's called Cadillac Attack, but it's not necessarily Cadillac. It's pretty much any GM platform. They have different classes like all out blower, all out whatever it might be, all naturally aspirated. But anyways, there's a class where you can pretty much run what you brung, and there's a couple twin turbo cars in there with like twin 76s and 400s, and these guys are going like 730s. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? That is embarrassing. I don't even post my time, dude. If I'm not letting out in the 8th going 6s, I'll be pissed. Like,
oh my god,
it's just crazy. Like, it's just insane what
but
these guys are doing.
But do you think people, and I don't mean to interrupt, but do you think, because I'm the regular guy, I'm the guy that doesn't tune Pro 75 or have anyone under my belt, but don't you think these people over turbo, over trans their cars, but don't necessarily have the bullet to back all that shit up?
So then you go into, if say for example, if I dropped a Noonan in my car, with a little 8-point in it and the stock rear and a 400. Yeah, but that is so stupid. Why would you ever spend $50,000 or whatever you're going to
Yeah.
spend and put it in a stock form car? Even if you do that and you got a fab so these guys got fab 9 inches in them and they got bars in them. These should go 690 still. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Right.
And it's just sad. Honestly, it's.
But do you
really...
think what do you think is missing? There has to be a key component that's missing. And I'll give you an example. Coyote guys really were stuck in the 770s, 760s for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a head sealing issue. We had a manifold issue. There wasn't a motor builder worth a fuck. Then Plasma Man came out with stuff because Holly stuff was ripping apart at the welds and the seams. It was just all coming apart. And then companies, with the O-ringing and the recessed situation where you have a step on the sleeve and it's recessing in the head, and figure 8 this and that, all of a sudden shit was sealing. And you go from 35 psi max to 40 to 50 to now getting close to 60 psi on a Coyote. And that's where the Coyote has now, where you see Brett and all them and Lund going 6s on a pretty heavy car. It was a sealing and motor building issue. What do you think these guys are missing? Because in the pushrod game, you guys got that shit.
Yep.
It's there.
It's figured out. It's been figured out for a while now. You can buy a billet LT direct injection beverage poured on them, and it's very similar to the LS. So Noonan pretty much just took the billet LS block and made it into an LT version. So you have the hoops, you have everything to do it, and it's strong. It's not the engine combination. If you want to be completely honest with you, in my opinion, it's the tuning. These guys in the GM game, they're your average guy that tune 9-10 second cars, maybe 8-second cars, which isn't fast in today's age.
Not at all.
And they have no clue what they're doing when it comes to methanol and no intercooler and putting 50 pounds of boost to something. To be just being real, like, they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they're being very timid, and their converter selection is probably off. I mean, I'm sure their combination is probably off. They're probably listening to XYZ engine builder to get them 2,000 wheel, which is plenty to do what they need to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
But their converter's probably off because these converter companies don't know. At the end of the day, man,
don't get me started.
You need to know.
If you start making me talk about converter stuff, you want to hear something crazy? I think a lot of converter companies, not naming names, guess. They
1000%.
guess. They go like this. They go, this should work. Then you put it in your car. It burns up your It burns the shit down. And you're like, yeah, that didn't work. And they're like, oh, our bad. Here's another one. I'm like, no, you don't get it. I just smoked my shit because of your guesses. They don't have any machinery that tell them at what power level, at what stall, like, how's it going to couple? What do you need? Like someone like a Cohen or Neil Chance. What did they have that others don't have?
So none of them will ever know. And the reason why is because all these combinations out there are different. They got different camshafts. They got different cylinder heads, whatever the case might be. If you got twin 68s on a LS with 9.5 to 1 compression, hydraulic roller, and then you got twin 68s on a 40 more cubic inch LS, 11.5 to 1 solid roller, it's going to flash a converter different.
Correct.
So these guys ain't going to know. And I'll be honest with you, it's really, when you start going into the 6s and low 4s and the 8th, it's really not their job to know. You can call them and they can kind of get you in the ballpark.
Okay.
But you as a tuner need to know what the fuck you're doing. Because, and now, like, and that will translate, if you own a shop, for example, that will translate into you doing that on your own vehicle and analyzing the data and what works the best. And you can build a customer with that stator and, what that might be. And that's when you call Chance and you say, hey, get me the 1545 stator, 10-inch, 258 or whatever it might be. And that's what works with that combination. And so, like, in my opinion, like, I've fucked some shit up before, but like, and I'm sure you guys have when you run stuff, know. But you figure it out, and that's how you become good. But a lot of these guys just don't have the common sense to figure it out or analyze data. Like, for example, there's a guy that built a I'm not going to get too in depth with it because I don't, in case these people watch this, but there's a guy that built a 2650 car, LS, solid roller, big cubic inch, went to Cadillac Attack. And, you know, they were dynoing it and they're like, yeah, the converter's too loose. I'm like, I got news for you guys. We have one of the fastest 2650 cars out there. There's a Camaro that we do. It's been mid 480s and they eat at 3,400
Silver
pounds.
one? That silver one? Yeah.
And I found something by accident on that car, but with a converter. And I'm like, the converter ain't too loose, I promise. Those things, man, it follows from the pro mod world. Like, I help guys with big Hemis and screws on them, and they want like a 150 RPM drop. Like, they don't want an RPM drop because the blower don't like being slowed down. So, like, if you're looking at a data log, like you have, say if your shift point's 8,500, it should look like two little nipples if it's a 3-speed.
Correct.
Like, that's it.
Yep.
Like, these guys expect 1,000 RPM drop because that's what they're told.
Oh no,
you know
that's bad for the motor. That's bad for everything.
It's everything. It'll lift the heads off of it. So, like, I'm like, dude, keep pulling on that son of a bitch if it's still making power up there because the converter will come to it.
Right. It'll couple.
Yeah. Converter technology is there. So, like, if I had, like, in that Camaro, for example, it's like a 200 RPM drop, but at the end of the run, I'm like 3.5%.
Wow.
Because it couples so well at the end. And that's me saying, hey, I want this blade with this. And they'll make it for you at Chance or Pro Torque or whatever. Now, some of these converter companies will try to get involved with your tuning and be like, no, I'm paying you XYZ for a stator. This is what I want. I don't care if it's wrong. That's what I'm like now. I don't really ask them for, this is what I want, you know? So, and there's a turbo car, that gray Mustang I do. I wanted a tighter stator in it. And Tommy is a buddy of mine over at Pro Torque. And I used to work for Mickey Thompson. And he's like, I was like, I need a tighter stator. He's like, you don't want the tighter stator. I was like, give me the fucking tighter stator.
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
Like, you know, I was like, because he's up in Ohio, and I'm like, I'll send you crab cakes if it doesn't work, you know, because he loves, you know, we're in Maryland, and you know, he loves a place down here that's got good crab cakes.
Right.
So I put it in, and it went faster, you know, and I'm like, dude, like, there's a point where turbo cars, they're a little different. Like, they want to be lugged up a little bit, you know. Compared to like blower stuff, I mean, it just wants to be so loose, and it's so nice with the tuning window and the starting line too. If the track's only mediocre, you can control with dump valves and everything else, and have it flash super high, and it's just very controllable. It doesn't try to take the tire off. I think turbo cars are very hard to tune, especially on mediocre tracks on a radial. It's just extremely hard to get after them if it's not perfect. And you have to have your combo dialed in. So, you know.
So these people that are out there that stick to, even on the Mustang world, they stick to the stock converter on TVS stuff. And eventually when they reach the 800, 850 horsepower range, that sucker just blows apart. That sucker just goes ba-boom, and it is not built to take that kind of torque, that kind of abuse. Do you see something similar like that in the Chevy world?
So yeah, that's kind of why I texted you the other day. I'm like, man, these fucking guys on this poster, like, I didn't even comment on the post. I did, and I said, kind of called him out on it. There's this big shop in the GM game that built this car. It's got a lot of money in it. They've been trying to go sevens for a couple of years now. And they said they have a stock converter in the car. I went 80 something, 2650. And the thing is, man, like, if you have all this money in this car, why the fuck do you have a stock converter in it? That's just stupid. It looks so dumb on you.
One, do you believe them? Or two, do you think they do and they're playing with fire?
So I don't believe them because there was another post that their transmission company posted and on Instagram saying, here's our stage 2 transmission and our billet stator converter this car is running. And they posted a video, and I was like, dude. So one or two people are lying here. Either they're lying or you guys are lying. You guys are both fucking shops.
Right.
So, or you just don't know what the fuck you have in it at this point, because I don't even know. And it just kind of pissed me off because other people on that post saying, I was going to change the converter, and now I'm not because you're going this fast on a stock converter. So let me back up 2 steps. It's not about going faster with aftermarket converter in this situation. It's about your safety. So these converters in a 10-speed are a single lockup, and the stators are an issue. they'll roll the fins over backwards in them, even a 900 wheel.
Okay.
And this car apparently makes almost 1,500, which I have a hard time believing, but whatever. So
on the 2650?
Yeah. I've made 1,400, and it's very hard to do that. And we backed it up in the silver car. We've been 480s. That's fat. That's worth 1,400 in my opinion. You know, this car ain't even fucking close to that. And so
it's crazy when you've built it and then someone else claims it, and you're like, then where's the disparity? Why am I a 480 car in the eighth, and you're like I don't know, a 520 or a 530 or whatever.
Exactly. He's been the 5 teens, but like, let me tell you something. Even 5.0 is a long ways from 480 at that level. 100%. It's not even close. It's not even in the hemisphere. So, he's out here saying that he runs on a stock converter, and I'm like, what? Like, I just kind of turn my head because it like pisses me off to tell the general public a lie. Why lie? Because like it can be dangerous, man. Like I've had 10 speeds split apart on me before and set the airbags off.
I saw the white car, Del car.
So what happens, and then we figured out why it does that. Something in the transmission in the back planetary fails, and it cocks it, and it just binds the gears up and blows them apart.
Okay.
But same thing with converters, like in race cars, man. I've seen them blow apart because of the heat, and they'll roll the fins over backwards in the stators or whatever the case might be. These stock parts are not made to go that fast. So if he has stock stuff in there, he's playing with fire. If he doesn't, and you're saying you do, you're lying. So either way, you look like a dumbass, in my opinion. It's just
the problem with the general public is that they're grossly misinformed, and not just grossly misinformed, they're ignorant. And again, I'm not saying this to be a dickhead, but I'll give you an example. So drag week sick week is happening right now, and Brett LaSalle is leading a pro mod. So now the popular meme right now is a stock block Coyote is right now beating a pro mod in average. And I'm like, wait a minute. One of them went 6'1" at 230 something with a slick. The other one went 629 at 224. I'm like, okay. So the people that see that post, they'll say, oh, all I need is a stock block Coyote and I'm good. No, it is a stock block cast, but the amount of work to make that thing survive has been through a lot of R&D revisions. Let's just say that. But the problem is the general public's going to go, I was building me a big block Chevy, this and fuck that. I'm like, no, keep going down that path if you know what you know. Because if you grab a F-150 Coyote stock, throw it in, it's going to explode at 9 PSI. And you're going to wonder, oh, someone's lying to me. Is Brett lying to me? Is Facebook lying to me? So I don't think they even want to do the research. Like, for example, I'm trying to get this Fairmont to run a number. Do you think I'm going to get a cage? And aside from that, I'm going to talk to people that have done it before. You and others, I'm going to say, where should I go if this is my goal? I'm not just going to go, Facebook said that's a stock block, so I'm going to, it's just so fucking stupid. So that's the drag and drive layman crowd. And those guys don't even realize that there is a thing called US Nationals. There's a thing called Ducks races where cars that, like, okay, the car that won the Unlimited Class at World Cup was a big block Chevy twin turbo Catfish Camaro against the GTR that had a Hemi in it. The thing went 560 in the quarter. I went, fuck, like that's like what's that, a 380 car or high 360 car?
Yeah, I would say you're probably 70s, somewhere in there. So you actually brought up a point I want to bring up about a couple different things like these. I'm not talking, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, especially if like Brett LaSalle might watch this.
No,
I don't know.
Tons of respect. I'm not saying him. I'm saying the people that see that and they fuck up the message.
So that's what I was getting at. I want to use him as a little bit of an example of what goes on. That thing's fast. It's on rails. I won't take nothing from it. I looked at his increments and I'm like, man, the thing, like, it's not leaving hard. Like, he's got more on the table, and I'm sure he knows it.
He's been 1.0s before, but he hovers in the 1.1s around there.
So, it's on cruise control early, and it gets down, and it went like a low 20, 420 something, and I think he snuck into the teens that last run there. And, he'll probably go faster before the end of the week's up because you can see it, if you know what you're looking at. So, but what's he have for a combination on that, twin 80s or something?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure about the turbo size.
Yeah. So, but that's something that's not really class specific built to go and win at Ducks race. or U.S. Street Nationals. And let me tell you, it is completely different to go one of them races. You ride around the pits at nighttime after the racing's over, Pro Mods are putting spare motors in. Pro 275 is putting pistons in them because, dude, it's a big difference when you start going and leaning on your combination because you're so specific on rules. Now, I know there's rules in the drag and drive 6 week stuff, but it's really laid back compared to real racing, in my opinion.
Like the Lund's car doesn't fit any class anywhere. It's too big of a turbo, too heavy. It just doesn't fit anywhere. And as a matter of fact, we were like actually looking a little fast at World Cup, like to the point where we would never even try to go back to Street Fighter because we don't think it, when it starts going 209 at the end of the, people are going to start going, what the fuck? And Brett's car to me is like a, FL2K, TX2K, and Warriors class car. And that's what he's built for. But I don't think he's interested in class racing. But I'm sorry to interrupt, but keep going.
No. I mean, you had a good point. Like all the stuff you just mentioned, including Warriors, are kind of more laid back stuff. Warriors is just an LDR class that's dummied down for people that don't want to blow their car up every weekend. LDR is 380s, so like that gray Mustang I do, if I had a real chassis under it, thing's a piece of shit. But if I had a real chassis under it,
I think it's so badass. You're like, that's a piece of shit.
We went 410 with his tongue hung out, dude. I got 80 pounds on the front left of that car, so it doesn't try to track the trailer going down the racetrack.
Right.
The A&I roll's bent up. I got rear steering it. Like, it's bad. It's to the point where it's unsafe. Now, if I had a real car, even a stock style suspension car, but like something nicer than that thing, I could go 390s in it. It's got the power to do it. I know it does, but I'm not, we can go fast from what we're going, but like, I'm not trying to put the driver in the wall, know? So, and that's kind of what Warriors is, so you have a combination, but like the car might not be there, or like Nitrous, for example, like them guys might take some jets out of it because they don't want to work on them every weekend, that kind of a thing, and it's the same that goes with Texas 2K and stuff. And in my opinion, and it's not a series, these guys going down the U.S. Street Nationals and Pro Mod Racing, dude, have 3 motors and they go through them. Like, so for example, you said a Pro Mod, like a real Pro Mod is not going to drag and drive, or
correct
6 week and going 6s. Like there's a nitrous car I do, and he's letting off in the 8th, and with the chutes out, he'll go 605 at 80 mile an hour. That's real Pro Mod racing. That's not. And so these guys 8th mile race, and Carson, the boy that works for me, mentioned how you like the quarter mile stuff. I guess he was listening to your live. I didn't hear it the other day. But at that level, man, it's so dangerous. So like we were down at US Street Nationals. There's this guy, Todd Moyer, and I don't know if you've seen it. It's got a blue new style.
The thing went 5-1.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was excited because I saw a actual quarter mile run, and I went, shit. But then I saw how much runoff he had and how fucking fast he was going, and I went, maybe that class and Pro 275 and maybe LDR. LDR can stop.
Yeah.
So Pro 275 and Pro Mod, I would think those guys would be 8th mile because they're going 200 in the 8th, So when I saw that car run, I did a whole show about it. I said, I am 46 years old, and I remember when 4s was top fuel funny car shit, and this thing went 5-1. There will be a 4-second Pro Mod, probably this year. So go ahead on that.
Yeah, no. So I wanted to tell you a little background story. I was down there when that happened, and I know Carl. He tunes. He's got a shop called Extreme Racing Engines, and he built the car. It's actually, I think it's a Bickle car, but he built the engine or whatever. It's his common. That's his baby, And I know him well, and he went up there and went 349 in the 8th before that run. And I went over to the pit, and I'm like, damn, that motherfucker's rolling.
Right.
Dude, 349's like...
Dumb.
It's fucking fast.
Right.
And I'm like, damn. So he's like, watch this. So he goes back up, and dude, how fast that car... So I come over to the pit after he went 920 something 60 foot, which is like average pro mod 60 foot. Like that's a good 60 foot, but that's not on fire. Like on fire 60 foot's 90 something, 905.
Fuck me. Damn it.
Yeah, but 920 is good. It's not slow.
Mm-hmm.
And he went 239 to the middle, which is hauling the fucking mail. And then he went 345 at 237 in the eighth. And that's what impressed me more. Actually, what impressed me more about the whole run, because I pro mod race and I tune pro mods and stuff, and I see the middle splits and back splits and how hard it is to gain from the 330 to the back. He went 106 back split from the 330 to the eighth, dude. That's got to be making 6,000 horsepower.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's insane. So I come back after the run, and he didn't even make it to the quarter, by the way.
Yeah, you could tell he let off a little bit because the mile an hour didn't really make sense, right?
Yeah.
It was like 250 something?
273 it went. But he didn't make it. So, yeah.
Was he out of gear? Was he out of RPM?
No, I don't gear. I get to it. I come over, and he's like, dude, I don't know where the fuck I was. From the eighth to the quarter, it was a blur. He's like, the windshield was coming in at me. I'm like, damn. So I'm like, holy fuck. So it fucked the car up though. The windshield was coming in at him, and it destroyed the tires.
I'm sure it killed the motor. Like, what did it do to the motor?
It actually didn't kill it that pass. I want to say it had to put a motor in it. I don't know for sure, but I know they're having some issues. They're on 7 cylinders 2 passes later, so I don't know what. I didn't go back over there because usually when you're putting motors in or pistons or working on it, no one in that crew or any crew at all is in the mood to talk to anybody.
Correct.
So I let them, be or whatever. I don't know exactly what happened. It could have been a spark plug wire off. I don't know, but. The amount of how fast that car was for a door car to do that, it's trying to break the car in half. It's trying to rip the tire apart. Like, it's starting to be, like you said, top fuel. Like, and it's almost unbelievable how fast that is. Aerodynamic wise, like, yeah, they're aerodynamic, but they're not top fuel rated. Like, top fuel's big.
They have a big wing in the back. Yeah, pushing everything down.
I don't know if you know this, but like top fuel has like 11,000 pounds of downforce on the wing.
Right.
So like pro mods ain't got that. You know what I'm saying? Like they got a little less than that, and it's just sketchy to do that. And they didn't go back up for a quarter-mile run because that tire had one pass on it. And try to rip them apart. Dude, if you would have blew a tire out going that fast.
Oh my God. I mean, he'd be mincemeat. It'd be terrible. It'd be the worst
thing ever. It's not rated to go that fast. So if you look at the video, the parachutes coming out of it look like trying to rip the parachutes off the back of the car.
Yeah. So he did that. Now that wasn't like a sanctioning thing. Like he just did it just cause. Like does every pro mod that was in like a US Street Nationals event or something like that, do they have the gearing to make it to the quarter, or are they optimized for the eighth?
They're all optimized for the eighth. I think I didn't go in too much detail about what they did with that one, but usually on a blower car or a turbo car, you can kind of spin them pretty hard in one of them Hemis, and so you can get away with another 1,000 RPM, but you got a lock up in them. But so that 1,000 RPM can get you a good bit. So I'm sure in the back of those cars, on a 36-inch slick, they grow. They'll grow 6-8 inches.
So was it rubbing? Was it rubbing internally, like on the tub?
No, but what I'm getting at is when they grow, it tries to turn the motor backwards. So like you don't really have to gear them as much as you think to run them out there, because the further you go, the more the tire grows.
The taller the tire is.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. So you're basically numerically lowering the gear ratio. The taller the tire is, the faster you're going on the track.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So let me talk about the prep situation. So let's say I'm pro mod. Let's stay on. It's kind of both. Sick week prep versus pro mod prep. If you have a pro mod that has drag radial prep, what are the challenges? Let's say you have on kill Dux races, fucking drag radial prep, and then you stick a pro mod in there. What are the challenges to making that sucker get down the track?
Everything. You got to change the 4-link. You got to change your tune-up. You got to change everything. Like, because the problem with a pro mod, man, it's not, and a lot of people don't know this, but like, it's really hard to run that big tire. It's actually not as easy as what you would think. Radials are extremely easy. Either it's going to go or not, period. So it's just going to stick or it's just going to knock them. And if it sticks, you just got to keep the front end down. That's really what it comes to. So big tire stuff, man, it is extremely hard. You got to get the tire turning at an XYZ wheel speed early. If it's too slow too early, it comes into a tire shake. If it's too fast too early, it goes into a tire shake. 100 feet out, it doesn't necessarily affect you on the starting line. So when you got a super glued track, you don't want as much bite on a pro mod stuff. Or like you got to change your tune-up on your bottle pressures in a nitrous car. You might leave with more bottle pressure, but that affects your tune-up down the track because you got to throw more fuel at it because you got more bottle pressure, or your bottle pressures taper off. So say if you leave at 975 bottle pressure, they taper off to 800 at the end of the run. You really want them as close as possible. So if you can leave with 850 bottle pressure, it's actually more of a liquid at that point than gas. The lower you can race your with the bottle pressure lower and have less drop through the run, the more consistent your fuel tune up and everything else is going to be. And a lot of people don't see that.
Right. People just go the rule of thumb over 1,000 and not worry about anything else. But again, not talking pro mod stuff. We're talking layman, regular stuff. So because I see drag and drive happening, and every single time they go, it's radial prep. It's always a radial prep. So then you get a big tire Corvette from Australia, and he goes out there and he is bouncing all over the fucking place. It's borderline dangerous. But then the drag radial cars are actually getting down. Like LaSalle's car gets down, and most of the radial cars that have a 4-link or a long arm style 4-link have an advantage if they have a drag radial. Do you even care about drag and drive stuff because of that inconsistency of prep, or do you just look at it and go, it's just a bunch of guys that don't really have class cars that have really, really fast potential to be fast, having somewhere to go just to prove that they can have the fastest street car in America that year, that event?
Yeah, it's more for, I think, the drag and drive and sick or whatever the fuck it's all called.
Sick week. It's sick week. Then there's I don't know, drag week. Then there's every week.
Yeah, all that bullshit. You know, all of them. The Texas 2K thing, a race that's not a series, I should say.
Okay.
In my opinion.
It's not. It's just one year, one.
No,
I mean, they didn't have Lambos have parachutes, and a lot of crashes happened that year where things were just fucking flying apart. Now they're like, okay, I raced my Fairmont there running 8s with no cage and no fucking parachute and Fox body brakes. So now they're like, okay, let's change it up.
Yeah, well, everything's getting faster, but like back to your, you know, what my opinion is, it's like your second option. Like I think it's just more for clout chasing. I think it's a lot of YouTube guys that do it. I think it's people that cannot fit into a class and can't, I wouldn't say can't race, but they don't race competitively. Like, dude, it's a real eye opener if you transform one of your sick week cars into a PDRA car and try to race with the big boys, because you ain't gonna qualify.
It's not gonna happen, right?
No.
We've seen it.
Like
you know, what can like Pro 275 cars in the 8th mile live in the 380, 370, high 370, 380 range, right?
So no, Pro 275, which is just it's a 28-inch tall tire, 275 60 15. They're like 380s is this past weekend. That was probably mid-pack. That was helping a car down there that he made it to the finals and won a 71. So and he lost to a 66. Wow. So yeah, those guys are starting to win. You got to go high 60s. Now to go down there and show up and qualify, I think the bump was 4.0, which is like real slow for that class. This past week in Florida, it was all kind of real slow. Pro mod bump was only 380. Usually it's mid 60s, and it's so tight. You know, you got 32 cars from 359 to 365 to qualify. Right. And that's what I'm talking about with how tough it is to race. You know, and the radials are the same way. Like it really just depends on the weather. If it's a greasy track, you know, but if it's 70 degrees outside, man, you better have your A game on because it's a tight field.
Everyone's going to be, you know, running really good. It does kind of hurt me seeing like the Flow Racing channel and you see all these US Street Nationals and the stands aren't packed. I'm saying they're not packed.
That's what I wanted to get at that. And this is kind of, you know, the other part of what I wanted to talk about. Like the general public is so fascinated with these other races because they do an extremely good job at marketing it. Now, in my opinion, with the U.S. Street Nationals and all these other NMCA and you know, if you're really not NHRA, the stands really don't get packed unless you're a no prep king or whatever. But you know, I think the racing world is in kind of a wrong spot with the spotlight, and it kind of goes back to a couple different things. People getting free things like these girls shaking their asses on Instagram. You know, it's like they're giving shit to the wrong people. It's in the
Dude.
wrong spotlight.
Yeah.
And the real guys are the ones that are at the racetrack and the stands aren't packed, and it's a good show. I don't understand why people like if people are fascinated by a pro mod going 620s or Brett LaSalle going 620 or whatever, which is fast. Come to a real race and they're going like, holy fuck, you know, it's like it's way different, you know, and it's very tight racing. You know, it's not one hit wonders. It's not solo runs. It's a 365 to a 364, and it comes down to the tree. You know, and
I'll be honest. I was one of those guys. Not because I'm like somehow having this epiphany where I'm like, I'm a real racer now. No, I'm a nobody. But I did concentrate on the street car game. And once the whole EPA stuff went down, I said it doesn't matter if the car is street worthy or not. Racing is racing, and fast is fast. So on the chat yesterday, people were asking me, Alex, if you were to build a drag car, what would you do? I said I'd get a big block Chevy and twin turbo, and then I'll fit a class. And they're like, well, that's fucking stupid. Why don't you do Coyote? I go, because a Coyote at 2,500 horse is stressing the fuck out. A big block Chevy is going, oh, is that all you fucking got? You know? So let's say Alec Bledsoe wants to run Pro 275. Give me your engine combo.
Depends what day it is.
Well,
definitely not a small block car. So it's funny. I'll get to that in a second. I just want to tell you something that you just brought up. So I was down at US Street Nationals with a truck, and they have a truck class, no time truck class, and this truck has a LS in it, so the single. And these trucks he's running, man, have Noonans in them with big 140 F4 Pro Chargers or screws on them.
Shit.
Brad Anderson Hemis, and I mean these guys ain't playing in trucks. And I'm like, dude, we blew the intake off the thing, right?
Don't name the company.
Yeah. So
maybe if you shake your asshole on camera, maybe they'll send you something.
Yeah. No, they're taking care of it. There are some issues that we have, and I will say they're taking care of it, but that was a good one. So we blew it into, and we're over here, back pressure is 2-1 on this thing. Like, it's got its tongue hung out, and we're fast, but I turned to Jason, that's the guy that owns the truck. I said, man, we really need a big block. I said, we got a knife in a gunfight, dude. Like, it's hard. Because small block, man, you're working on it. When you're trying to go 4.0s and 390s, it's hard. So back up the Pro 275 to answer your question. Yes, it'd be a big block. And to be honest with you, dude, I'm not a big turbo person when it comes to going that fast because it's so hard to control it.
Okay.
Tuning wise. So yes, it makes the most power and lives the best. Everything about it's good besides the power management. You can't make them run early, especially on a radial. It's very hard to make them run early.
Okay.
So my combination would be a nitrous car, like as big as cubic inch you can get. 959 is the limit, and it'd be a nitrous car. And the reason why is because it's not all about the mile per hour at the eighth. It's to get there first. Yeah. And the nitrous stuff's very good to control. Or it'd be a screw blower car with mechanical injection. Like, I'm a fuel injection guy, but I'd have mechanical injection on it because it's so sorted out. You'd be starting from scratch with fuel injectors. Like, there's guys out there running fuel injection on pro mod stuff, and they're having a hard time popping the blowers off all the time, and they just can't get them right yet. You know, the technology ain't there. They haven't figured them out. But what's the difference between having 20 injectors in it and 20 nozzles changing the jets? There really is none. It really, at that level, dude, it comes to power management and who can get to the finish line first. You know, in my opinion, I think
I've been fascinated by nitrous stuff lately, only because I see the deadly consistency. You don't really have to worry. You don't have to worry about DA generally. You can control a lot of things. It's just a matter of, and the packaging. The packaging is probably a lot less bullshit when it comes to just making that work. Bottle pressure, I'm sure there's a bunch of controllers and shit going off and clicking all over the place. But imagine what the interior of a nitrous car looks like versus a turbo car versus a screw blower. That could be.
They're easy actually. Screw blower stuff or any pro charger, any blower is easy.
Yeah, it's
pretty easy. Only thing you got is a timing curve. They're good. I just can't stand pro chargers. I just don't know.
Me neither. I'm just not a fan of any pro charger product.
If I'm having a blower on it, it's gonna have a screw hanging out of the hood. Like it's just what it is. You know.
So let's change the stip a little bit. Let's say you want to build a car like a Texas 2K car. Do you what is the combo? Meaning all out, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. Are you still going to stick with a nitrous? It's a quarter mile car. It's something that has to have street in it, meaning 2 or 3 stupid rules. What would you select then for a power?
I'd probably be a turbo car, twin turbo car, because it's extremely easy to go fast with for a lot cheaper. At that level, it's more street car stuff. You don't want to work on it every night in the pit.
Right.
You know, and it's a heavy car. It's just the turbos, because you're more than likely building a Coyote or LS or small engine at that point. It's not straining it nearly as bad. You know, turbo stuff's just real easy on things, and it's quarter mile. So you got to have the steam to run out the back door. And, you know, it's just, like I said, it's just easy, you know,
so
at that level.
Why not a big block Chevy with twin turbos?
Well, I would do a big block for sure if it's allowed.
No, anything's allowed, dude. It's like run what you brung. As long as the car has like a DOT front and rear, that's it. That's the rule. No one piece front end.
Let me tell you something. If someone built a big block twin turbo car, they could fuck every car up at Texas 2K.
But they do have them. Cletus. Okay, I know you're gonna roll your eyes. I know. Look, me and you are in the same fucking wavelength. I said that guy doesn't dominate. He either doesn't have enough. I just think it's in the wrong chassis. I just think that setup is in the wrong chassis. And there is a RX-7, but you know it's an RX-7 with turbo sticking out of it, a green one. I forget the guy's name. But that car is a twin turbo, and it's a 6-second car. So I wonder why no one has built a murder, death, kill combo for 2K, because you have 4 races a year. Basically, you have Warriors potentially, you have FL2K, TX2K, and I forget there's something else somewhere it's sprinkled in between. Like, I don't know why people don't build something stupid to run in the 5s and just, you know, kill shit. And I just don't know why they don't do it.
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'll speak on Cletus. You know, nothing against them, but might have to edit this out.
No. Okay, go ahead. Say what you got to say.
But so like it's about the clout for him, you know. So he wants to build an El Camino because it's hell yeah, brother. You know, so you might be right. I don't pay attention to him too terribly much. I don't know if he has a chassis or not.
Not like you think a 3,000 horsepower SMX should have. You know?
So let me just put this into a factor. Okay, this is a good example of a truck, quote unquote. Jason with his red truck with a small block single is running with these guys.
The red truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's running with these guys down here at US Street Nationals. Jason said something to Cletus the other day when I guess he's seen him at Bradenton. He says, "Why don't you run your El Camino?" And he asked him, and he's like, "How fast are these guys going?" And he's like, 390s, 80s, 40s, and he ain't there. No. So that just goes to show you, at that level of racing, you ain't fucking with them boys. You know, it's just, even though your combo, he didn't build it specifically to race that, but you know, but he's probably not leaning on that thing to race with them guys. And that's what these drag and drive, that the 6 week stuff, like they ain't leaning on them, you know, and it's just not like, in me, it's just my opinion, but what impresses me is what something runs like, if you have a good combination that runs good for what it is, if that kind of makes sense. Like if you have a small block single car that goes 4.0,
badass,
and then you have a fucking big block twin turbo car. I don't care if it weighs 3,700 fucking pounds. Why the fuck do you build a 3,700 pound car? You know, it's like
Look,
it's like,
I'm kind of like, okay, what would you think the max weight on a car like that? Like, I don't think a 3 should be in front of a car that that runs a fucking number. So what would you be in the 2,700 pound range or high 2000s?
So if someone like talks about, if we're talking about weight, like in race car terms, I'm like, someone tells me something's 2,900, I'm like, damn, that's heavy.
Heavy,
Like,
right?
you know, on a radial status, you know, pro mod racing, if you're 2,750, you're heavy.
Okay.
You know, nitrous cars are down to 2,500 and some change with a driver. So, but it really matters. That 200 pounds really matters because the field is so tight. So you have to be at weight. And then other cars that these guys build for sick week, just they ain't fucking with them. It's just they can't. You know?
I think, and you know, I that's the problem. I think a lot of people are exposed to racing only at 2K, only at FL, only at sick week, and then I turn on the TV or Flow Racing, which does not have great coverage, but it is what it is, and you start really doing the math on the numbers, and I'm like, that is a half second quicker than what I think was badass in the other events in the 8th. Never mind the quarter. So while the sick week stuff, FL2K, TX2K stuff is insanely impressive, it doesn't hold a candle to what these limited rule cars have to be. They have to weigh a certain amount. They can't have a certain combo depending on power adder. They're limited by what cubic inch turbo size. There's a bunch of limits. So
Tire,
they have
everything.
Yeah. So they have to live in a sandbox that's very tightly scrutinized and then maximize that combo. And it is like so fucking fast. But again, I'm not here to take away from anyone else running the other streetcar classes. I'm just saying when it comes to class racing, it's night and day. It's apples and oranges. And a lot of people just don't even care to watch PDRA, nationals and Dux races. When I went to my first Dux race, I was hooked. I was like, this is badass shit. And anything else that I saw was like, meh. But in my job is to live in the streetcar world. And I'm like, for streetcar stuff, this is extremely quick. So you're probably caught in both because
I'm both. And that's why I wanted to talk about, you know,
right.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. And it's interesting. So does one impress you more than the other? Like your Camaro running 820s is extremely impressive, but then people go, well, this guy went 7s. And I'm like, motherfucker, he has a 2650. If I put a 2650 combo on my shit, I'd be running 770s, you know? But do you not let that get to you? Because
no, I don't let it get to me. And I don't care because like, dude, I know what it takes to go 770 and a 2650. I did it 5 years ago. So it's easy, you know, and Greg Kong's car, like we ran that twice and it went 175 mile an hour, 850, granny shifting the thing.
Right.
Like full interior, nothing gutted, both seats in the car, air conditioning, the whole 9. Now we did a badass motor that I probably wouldn't sell. That's a solid roller. I probably wouldn't sell that to your average streetcar guy. I'd dummy the motor down just a smidge, not much, but it's still good 170, you know? So yeah, it depends. Like, yes, I think my car is, I'll put it into terms of to get my car to go 820s. I've taught my guys that work for me a lot about how you fuck shit up. And they look at me sideways. They don't do it anymore, but they look at me sideways and they're like, we'll be at the racetrack. I'm like, we're sliding the piston in this bitch. Like, that's how I'm a racer. So like a lot of people in the streetcar game would hang it up. Like, oh my God, it's blown up. Like, no, if that cylinder is good, if that cylinder wall's okay, we're getting the hone out and we're putting a ring and a slug in this bitch and going back up. You know, it's like, so
those cars, so that's sorry to cut you off there, but so you bring the race car mindset to the streetcar mindset, and it confuses people, right? They're like, wait a minute, what? You're going to put a piston in this thing? Like in Coyote, you can't do that. You just Coyote, you got chains, you got shit everywhere. To put a piston in it, you might as well just throw a whole nother motor in it. It's a lot quicker, a lot more simple, and that's what I think people do. They just shove another Coyote in it.
if I had a Coyote car that went 820s and that was the easier option, you better best believe I have a spare motor on the trailer. You know what I'm saying? But LS is a little different. But anyways, to go back and answer your question, to go 820s in my combination, I'll tell you how hard it is. It's just as hard to do that than to go mid 360s in a Pro 275 car. That's how much goes into that. And that's why I don't think someone might catch it, but they ain't gonna weigh 3,700 pounds doing it.
Oh,
If
I
you're in a
see.
tin can, to make the power I did, dude, it took a lot of money and time. And you better best believe when I went to World Cup, I had a spare 10-speed in there. I had spare rods. I had spare, not the brake one, but if I beat the bearing out of it, I'm gonna have another rod to put in there with a piston. Or I had a spare diff, I had spare axles, I had spare everything.
You came
Head
ready.
gaskets,
Everything, right?
everything. So actually, when we rolled my car out Tuesday evening at World Cup, this is how last minute. Like, we weren't last minute. We were, but we weren't. We were very prepared to go, and I knew it was going to be a question with. I have copper gaskets and it's got hoops in it.
Okay.
And I knew it was going to be because.
Hold on. Can you say that again? Can you just tell me what kind of gaskets are in there real quick? And I'll tell you the backstory later. What kind of gaskets were in there?
Copper.
Okay. That's all. I'll tell you about it later. Go ahead. Keep going.
So, and I wouldn't do that in street car, but we'll get to that. But anyways.
Go ahead.
So anyways, it was leaking in between the head and the block, and I had a feeling it might have done that. Sometimes it'll clean up because you get heat cycles in it, and it might clean up. And I was like, man. So we tried to retort the heads on the dyno, and I was like, it didn't. It sealed up on the dyno. And I'm like, let's take a peek at this. Sure shit, we get it out of the trailer. It's leaking. I said, all right. Tuesday evening now, we had the head off at 9:30 at night.
Fuck me.
I'm like, well, I just had to put some silicone around the copper gasket and put it back on. It was fine. It's just something I kind of, I should have put more of it on when I initially put the engine together, but it is what it is. But I have no quit. I'll fight until the end, So if we won first round and I burnt it up, you better best believe everyone had a job at World Cup to do exactly. I'm very organized. So like Kyle does this, Fuzz does this, Alex does this, and no one gets in the way. And I don't even work on it. I look at the tune-up and I analyze the thing for the next round. But I brought the race car stuff to the street car. Not, I would say, but street car, but we were racing it,
Right.
And we do the same thing with real fast stuff, like XYZ, XYZ people do XYZ things, and it's very organized. And I had it all planned out in case we needed to do that. And I would have tried my best to fix it before next round, no matter what it is. If I burnt the trans up, if I did, we had an extra CDF drum in the trailer just for that trans. We took the trans out, put a CDF drum, put it back together, put it in. We didn't have to do it, but we had to do it on the dyno at my shop. And I said, okay, before we go taking anything apart, this is a prime example of what could happen in between rounds. So I got my guys together. They got a stopwatch out. They got the trans out of it, took the trans apart, put a CDF drum in it, put it back together, had it in, and it was less than 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So we're very organized with that. And that's competitive racing to win. You got to be like that.
So what have things happened in the industry that slightly take that away? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little older than you are, but I haven't been in the industry as long. But I've seen so much shit that I kind of like slowly start to step back from racing because of the bullshit. And you don't even want to be. Sometimes there are days that you don't even want to be affiliated with racing or motorsports. Like what kind of things happen on your end that slowly eat away and erode your love for racing? What things can happen in the industry that erode your passion for racing?
A lot of lies with the shops out there. It's really the shop owners, honestly, and the street car stuff. So forget the race cars for a minute. It's not the race car guys. They fuck shit up and they get over it or whatever. These street car guys, man, you blew it.
Dude, I feel the same way. I just seeing it your face, I'm like, yeah, I'm there already. Yeah. I'm dead inside.
Yeah, I'm dead inside because you can burn something up And I'm not the person that makes fun of someone else for burning something up if you're trying something or whatever, but I'm gonna fix that and learn from my mistakes. These other guys just really gouge at you if they catch wind of that in the streetcar game. So, for example, if someone got wind that I burnt my trans up in my car, for example, I didn't, but if I did, there would be so much talk about because they want you to fail, and that's just I don't even know why it's like that, man. Like I want other people to succeed because it makes the game better. But the streetcar industry, they just want you to fail because they're jealous. That's that's the only thing I can think of. Like I don't want other people to fail. My competitor, like I was talking about earlier with that Noonan 2650 deal, dude. I hope he goes 770s. It should. I'm just talking about it slow, and I don't know what the fuck they got going on, but they should go 770s, and I speak how it is, and it's just, and that also is a turn off for me. It's like, wow, we really come to this. We got all this money in something, and we can't go sevens. It's just like, what are we doing here? It's just.
I've met people that put $100,000 into the Coyote Mustang, and they can't run any better than like a guy that does it part-time fucking around, but has a lot of race knowledge. Like there's a couple of guys that I know that used to race big block stuff and small block stuff back in the day. They put a Coyote in it and the car's running within a tenth or two of like shop times. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that guy just has more know-how. But then people want to know what there's a secret sauce, there's nitrous, there's this and that. And those are the guys that I think are the guys that watch streetcar stuff, not the guys that really know the nitty gritty when it comes to suspension tuning, converter selection. Like there are people out there that think that a Coyote should run a certain number depending on a certain mod, and they take the let's say the experience of the owner and throw it out the window. I'll give you a quick example of that. I put out a thing on my Fox body. I have a stick Fox body, makes 460 wheels. Okay, no big deal. And I knew in my mind, I'm like, this is a 1070 car on pump gas, no problem. If I can launch it decent. People are like, no way, 1150 because 400 wheel, 3,300 pounds, da 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 da. So I go to the track and it starts wheel hopping like a motherfucker and doing dumb stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't have adjustable shock, so let me raise the tire pressure a little bit because it's a slick, it's a bias ply. Let me go from 15, let's go 17. And sure enough, it spun a little bit, but it liked the wheel speed and it did what it did, and it ran into the 10s. Everyone was like kind of confused. And I was like, well, I've experienced a bias ply. Actually, I have more experience on a bias ply than I do a radial. I knew that if I added air pressure, it would spin a little bit and it would actually help my 60-foot instead of bogging and biting and doing all this crazy stuff. A lot of people take experience in racing and just throw it out the window and think a car should run a certain number for a certain boost number for a certain combo, and anything quicker than that or slower than that, you're doing something out of the norm. Have you ever been accused of like, oh, you got nitrous in it? Because no 1.7 goes, 820s.
Right after we went 820s, if you pay attention to my increments, it really ran hard to the middle, like to the eighth, I should say. It went 527 at 133, which is like really strong. The other car was just telling you about spin 80, but he went like, I don't know, I probably gonna be wrong, but I remember his mile an hour. He went like 512 or something at 137. And I'm like, man, I really think if I get a little bit more weight out of it and some tuning, and I got to get it to leave a little bit better, I think I could go low teens at 135 to 137.
Okay.
And, everyone's like, when seven's coming. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I can get it. I'm just being realistic. I think I can go probably teens pretty easily. But O's, I could maybe do, but I don't know if I can go in the sevens. Like I sit on my phone calculator laying in my bed at night. I'm like, I'm gonna have to do this, this, and this to go sevens. Like, it's gonna be tough, And I'm out of power, and I just ordered another cam for my car today.
Wow.
And
is it just because you want to try stuff? Because you have some theories and
I have some theories. Like it's actually the same size cam for the most part. The lip separation is a smidge bit different, but I got a little bit more duration at 200 lift now. It's just changing some stuff around a little bit.
Are you playing with the ramp style incoming and outgoing, on and off? Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that a lot of people don't even think about when it comes to cams,
Yeah.
the ramp style. But let's not talk about that because people then are going to accuse me of knowing stuff. It's stupid. So what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I never really answered the question. Yes. So after I went really fast, 820s, people find it unbelievable when they accuse me of spraying, and shops accuse me of spraying. I'm like, I don't know why I'd lie about it, man. Like, it's just, I can promise you, I'm going to spray it. It's set up for nitrous.
Okay.
I haven't really told anyone that, but I'm going to spray it, and I promise you, when I spray it, they'll know because it's going to go real. I know nitrous. Like, my pro is nitrous. I know how to nitrous tune, even though I never advertise it in a street car, and I hate doing it in street cars because you might tune something 900 bottle pressure, 950 bottle pressure, whatever it might be, in the shop on the dyno, and they go out and the bottle pressure is too low, or they spike it to 1200 and it burns up, and then it's your fault. So I try not to even bother with it through the shop with street cars. When people call, I just tell them no. But it's funny because the boy Dell, the street races, like, I guess he's in a bunch of group chats and stuff, and people talk shit, and they're like, "Oh, Alec don't know how to tune no nitrous," and Dell's like, "What are you talking about? The fastest car he's ever done's been on nitrous. Like, he just don't want to do anything with nitrous street cars." And so yeah, I've been accused of nitrous, and I like spraying. I like nitrous, but I promise that car hasn't been on nitrous yet. So.
It's funny when I tell people when a customer says, "Hey, what do you think about a 150 shot?" I go, "Well, my job is to set the timing and fueling for that power level. Bottle pressure, when it comes on, anything of that sort is 100% up to you. I cannot control what you do with your nitrous kit. I cannot control when you activate it. Now, if you have like a window switch or something, I would say, okay, let's bring it on at here. Let's turn it off at here and see what the deal is. I'm a fan of playing with jet sizes to bring fuel trims instead of hammering the calibration for the fuel trims. And I'm a big fan of pulling the plugs and looking at them and see what they're doing.
Nitrous racing, you have to pull the plugs.
But people, you got to understand, imagine you're on your computer right now tuning, and the guy just doesn't want to pull the plugs. Why? He bought the car. He went to a shop. They put the headers on. The shop put the LU47 injectors on. Lund tuned it remotely, and another shop put a nitrous kit on it. This boy doesn't even have a fucking tool set. He doesn't even want to take the fucking thing out and look at it.
Having nitrous. No business.
And that's what I tell people. Stop with the nitrous unless you stop with the nitrous unless you are highly advanced in reading plugs or at least mechanically inclined enough to do what the tuner asks you. And you got to have a consistent bottle pressure all the time so that everything else is consistent. It is death to me when I hear, okay, first of all, when they're typing to you, and some of the words are finna, like I'm finna. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be fucked up. It's sure enough, it's fucked up. Hey, I done burned it up. I'm like, yeah, you did done burned it up, bro. Because what the fuck? And they're like, what happened? What did you do? I'm like, I gave you 20 degrees of timing. That's nothing on fucking 85, and you still somehow burned it up. So I totally understand not wanting to tune nitrous stuff because the variables are too much from the customer.
There's only, I can't even count on one hand how many nitrous street cars I tune. Like that's it. Like, we don't install them. We don't install kits. There's no money in it because if you do it properly, you can't bill for all the hours you put in it because we like to do really nice things. So it's very hard. That's just such a funny subject. I love nitrous to death, but in race cars, that the white ZL1, coming out we're going to come back out this year with it, and we're talking about like what we can do to improve his, that car's about done in the first 330. Like, there is no more picking up. Like, I just don't see how I can pick up. It's extremely fast. Like, it is. I don't think there's another car in the street that, if they were 330 racing, I don't think anyone could ever beat it. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Does it cut high 1.2s on the street?
Yeah, it's fast.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Ooh. So,
fuck, on the street, I see a 1.4 and I'm excited. A
1.4 is fast on the street.
But but like if you're a 1.3 or 1.29 is like fucking dumb. Like fucking
his
dumb.
Car, a bad pass on his car, if he screeches the tires a little bit, will go 140 flat.
Oh
Like
my
that's a
God.
bad pass. That's horrible in that car.
You know, it's almost as fast as some BMWs out there. Have you seen these BMW guys start to flex up in the Maryland area? Like the
I
S58,
kind of want to
B58 guy?
talk about. You just brought something up that just yes. I want to bring something up about. I'm doing a podcast right now, but I want to bring
Nice.
something up. No, I'm talking about me and you. I guess
Oh,
it's not
sorry,
a
sorry.
podcast. Yeah,
Gotcha.
no.
Yeah, it is.
So I wanted to bring something up about podcasts that's been going on
The
throughout the
Street
country.
Alpha stuff, the
Oh,
Street
dude,
Alpha guys. I
don't
like
even
the Street
fucking get
Alpha
me
guy, but the guest he has on,
dude, same here. So I think there's another podcast out there too. I forget their name.
the Mexican guys, the guy that said
Yes,
that all you need is an E85 map tune. You don't need
dude,
injectors
don't
for
even
E85.
fucking get me started with that guy.
I said, what the fuck did you say?
So between those two podcasts, the Alpha guy, he seems like a super cool dude.
Great guy.
Like he's laid back. He just lets everyone else do the talking kinda, and he asks questions, But he's choosing the wrong people to go to. Dude, these people have no clue what real racing is.
But they're the king of New York, man.
Dude, I mean, it is insane with these guys, and it's all just jibber jabbing back and forth of I'll race anyone on here on this highway at this time of night, blah blah blah, and then he goes to the next guy and fuck that guy, in two different podcasts, and it's like, let's be real here. You guys are never going to race each other. You're two shop owners that look like clowns right now. It's insane, dude. It's insane.
I told people, somebody asked me, because the B58, S58 super guy, all this, and BMW guy, someone asked me what I thought about them. I said they're new money. People said, what do you mean? I said, well, when you get your first $1 million and you're a millionaire, you buy the chain, you buy the, you're talking to a stack of cash, you do all that bullshit. S58, B58, BMW guys, they think Nines is fucking doing something. And I go, it's new money. You now have a platform that's decent and you don't know how to fucking act, because that all-wheel drive car on the street gets down. And then they're like, I'm the king of fucking this. I'm a king of fucking that. And dude, in the middle right now, there's an Instagram post where I put that clip up, and there's arguments happening. There's like call outs, there's fights, there's death threats. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Nothing ever will happen out of it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'll tell you how I am. Like, I got a little bit of hood rat in me. I love like how Dell goes out there, and I shouldn't be really a part of it, but it's just when I was 17, 18, 20 years old, I lived that. I love doing it, and it kind of grew out of it. But now I'm just more in the background of it, and I don't really do any talking. And Dell's car does the talking. He does all that shit. I just like going out and beating up on people. And let me tell you something. It is so easy with these new money guys, because these guys get one lick off on their road and go whatever they're going to go, but they'll never back it up again. And let me tell you something about the white car, dude. It is so consistent every fucking time. Yes. And it's so easy to get these guys like to swallow them. They came up, New York came down. They thought they had the baddest fucking Supra on the planet. And here we are with the Heads Cam 1.7 blower. And we fucked them up. Like, it wasn't even close, dude.
See, now they're gonna clip this.
I'm sure they are, but I don't give a fuck, It's the truth, So, but Dell's car just is so consistent. It's hard to beat, man. It's hard to beat consistency, and that kind of goes to the racetrack and professional racing. It's hard, not the faster car. The faster car doesn't win every time. It's the one that gets down every single time.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think is a better transition? Is a no prep guy better to go into prep, or is a prep guy better to go into no prep? Which team is better equipped to handle a completely different prep situation?
That's a good question. And something, I know people that have done both, and they look like clowns. So in both situations,
because you don't have, let's just say, if you're a drag radio guy and you're used to nighttime racing only, and you have a 4-link and a turbo or nitrous, let's just say, it's gonna do what it does. But then you try to go somewhere where the road is virgin, like, okay, now I'm not used to that tune-up, throw it out the window. But I've seen guys like Lutz, right? He has that Pro Mod looking car. It's not a pro mod. It's a looking.
Thank you for that.
It's
Thank
a pro.
you.
Yeah,
Everyone thinks it's a pro mod.
No.
Yeah.
Pro mod people just look at something and they go pro mod. They go, no. It's actually just look at a pro mod car. It looks nothing like Jeff Lutz's car. So Jeff Lutz is out there with grip, and he's a no prep guy, and he's inconsistent. It chatters the tires, and if a clean pass to him is still chattering the tires all the way down the track. So he's struggling, even though he went 6'1". He's struggling a little bit. So I wonder which one is better equipped.
In both, I know a lot of radio guys that have tried the dig or die in North Carolina $100,000 race because they see the 100,000. They said, "We've been 380s. We can easily get down this fucking road. We have all the best technology ever." So they show up with this fucking 3,000 horsepower Brad Anderson with a Pro Charger hanging on the front of it, and it's like, dude, y'all are in a rude awakening. Because I'll tell you, I do a little bit of both. I'm a little all over the place. I do the no prep, that kind of stuff. The boy that worked for me, we made to the semis down there in I just said it, in North Carolina.
Dig or die?
Yeah, the dig or die race. 2 years ago, we put his car together for that race. So it really comes to the weight balance, and it comes to power management. It's a tuning game. And he let me do my thing. He drove, but he jumped the light in the semis. He would have went to the finals. He beat him by like a landslide. I wasn't on the light, but it is what it is. Part of racing. Lost, but what I'm getting at is I do that. I do a little bit of everything. And let me tell you, the guys that come from the Radial scene to try to come down there and do it, there's some big names, dude. There's some big name tuners that try to do it, and people that have no budget, and they try to do it and they get fucked up in the first round.
Yeah.
But vice versa. I don't know if you remember 5-6 years ago when Duck's race was really popular.
The Street Outlaws came up.
They came over there and they got fucked up.
Right.
So it's such a, it's the no prep, you don't need a bunch of money to win. If that makes sense.
You just need an Olympic weight set in behind your car, and you're in a fucking wing from a Boeing 737 in the back of the bitch, and you're gonna win. You're gonna have grip. And I'm like, okay, what are we building here? Shopping carts with just weights in the. What are we fucking building?
So it's crazy the amount of money there is to win in that stuff. But I give them guys respect because they're a bunch of hillbilly rednecks that don't know a bunch and don't know a bunch, and they know they don't know a bunch. They don't act like they know a bunch, at least the majority of them. And they get out their wallet and they bet each other. They grudge race it. I like that kind of racing, but at the same time, I like going over to the other crowd and going racing with them because you go fast and there's no budget over there, and you're putting motors in and you're doing all kinds of shit, but them guys over in the racing world just think they know. I mean, in the prepped Radial world, quote unquote, just think they know everything. Everyone's a know-it-all. No one's loyal to nobody. I feel bad for like Mark Menser, like Menser Shocks. Like, dude, I don't know how he does it. I'm a friend of his. Like, we talk all the time, and I don't know how people, because like, you go to your street nationals and these pro mods ain't working on the glued up racetrack and they think it's a shock issue.
Right.
Really, the shock is just the absorber. It's a 4-link issue. You change your 4-link around. The shock, all these shocks do the same thing. It's just an absorber. Now, Mark can revalve your shit at the racetrack if it ain't holding the car in a slick car situation. If it ain't holding the ass end down like you wanted to and it's coming back up, yeah, he can revalve it to do that. You don't need a $15,000 air shock on it. And these guys just think more money buys you best shit, and that's not really the case. You gotta, you need to know a thing or two. You need to learn it. And these guys in pro mods, they don't learn it. They just change shit until it works.
Oh,
and it's just kind of, they have money, unlimited money throughout these things.
That's what I was going to ask you. So give me an example of what the typical pro mod team owner does for a living, because like this guy has a $300,000 a year operation or a $400,000 a year operation. So you're like, what kind of person are you dealing with when it comes to pro mod. Not you specifically, because I don't want to make
yeah.
you know.
I mean,
in general,
the writing's on the wall. If you walk through the pits of like you have $1 million, well, shit, $2 million really dollar operation because the trailers that they have are over $500,000.
Oh my lord!
I mean, I'm talking. If anyone watches this has never been to a U.S. Street National, but they've been to NHRA racing, and you're walking through the pits, it's the same rigs. I mean, it's
Really?
legit. It's legit. You know,
It's a shop, rolling
it's
shop.
a shop. It's a shop. Yeah. So a lot of these guys have 2 cars. You know. So,
What?
yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So okay, why do they do this? There's no money in it. Like there's no money.
It's a dick measuring contest.
It's all about
So
who's the baddest.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So these guys don't really know what the fuck they're doing. There's a handful of them that do, but for the most part, it's monkey see, monkey do. Now the no prep scene, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
These guys are broke. They're a typical backyard, 1-car garage, driveway, tarp building, tent performance people. You know,
tent performance. Dude, because when I say that, I'm called a hater. I'm called you don't know shit, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's a guy right here that owns a shop and tunes pro mods and shit, and he's saying the exact same stuff. So we're seeing the same thing.
It's just spitting facts. I mean, it's not really hating on anything,
right?
Because I'm in both worlds, but I don't know. They're both cool in their own ways. The problem I got with the big money guys is they think they're bosses, so they own companies. They manage 40, 50, 60 people.
You can't tell them nothing.
You can't tell them nothing.
You can't tell them
so
nothing.
It's very hard as a tuner to tell them shit or anything really. And they'll just buy. They'll buy. Like Mark Mickey just took his Garrett's off his Mark Mickey's
I know the guy. Yeah, the M&M transmission.
M&M transmission. He just took his Garrett's off that thing and put Hart's turbos on it. Well, everyone else shit's for sale now because
he won.
Yeah, but everyone else's shit is for sale because he took the Garrett's off. So whoever had Garrett's on their shit is putting Hart's on their shit now because they follow him. But
why? What
they don't realize is you'll never be better than him if you just follow him. So it's just like it's amazing to me, man. And it goes for tuning too. Like there's a big time nitrous tuner out there that I won't name him, and he's got some fast shit. I won't take it from him, but guys are starting to catch him. And the one guy I help out that's got the nitrous card, don't spend any money with him. This guy builds these billet-ins. He's legit. He's got a real shop and stuff. He wires cars. I don't really know him really at all. He's just from around, but in my opinion, from what I can see, he's more of he runs everything on MoTeC. So what's that tell you? He's more of a computer. I think that this works and nothing else works kind of a situation.
Right.
But there's nothing that I've ever seen on a pro mod level that Holly or Fuel Tech or Hall Tech can't do. So why the fuck do you need a MoTeC? I don't know, but
because it's MoTeC, because it's but there is that era, and again, in the very very poor, because the poorest are the biggest fanboys, right? Oh, you got to get MoTeC. Why? Why the fuck, why do I have to get MoTeC if I'm doing it with a stock computer? Oh, because you have selectable. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? You just saw some guy be able to switch a map on the fly and the car chops, and then you think MoTeC is better, but you don't actually know why you think it's better. So
many people talk like, MoTeC, for example, but these guys that think they're tuners in the nitrous world or pro mod world, Holly's very easy to. I don't know if you ever dabble with it yourself, but
no, because I haven't had to. But don't think that I haven't thought about it for a dedicated race car build. Like the Fairmont is going to be a very. I'm baby stepping it. That car is going to get a 8.850 front half mini tub. Get my feet wet. And then if I get the bug and I really want to go, in the 6s, because I think 7s is pretty attainable with simple shit, and I want to get after it, I'm going to talk to the people that know. I'm not just going to throw stuff at the wind. I'm going to talk to the people that know, and I want to get well versed on it. And if you're well versed on Holly, which you are, you'd be the first guy that I would talk to. Junior does some stuff, but you know it intimately. You know it like so you fuck with it all the time.
I'm so deep into Holly. I know a couple of them guys over high up over there that we give feedback to.
Oh.
you know, or like the newer beta might have something in it now, a table in it now, because of what I told them I think it needs. So like I have input on that. Now Holly absolutely sucks with their customer support.
Oh.
It's horrible, but like so you kind of have to know. So what? Let me back up a little bit. So what I'm getting at is we'll put your Fairmont into an example here. If you buy a Holly tomorrow and put it on this thing, you're a tuner, right? And you're gonna download Holly and be like, wow, you'll get it. You'll look at it for 40 minutes and be like, this is the easiest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Now, stock ECU stuff is where the real boys come into a factor. The men to the boys, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Men are on the stock ECU stuff and they got to figure it out how to do. Like you guys with Lawn Man, it's very impressive. Because a lot of people don't have, nobody in my knowledge, I don't know, you has stock ECM stuff running like that.
Nobody that I know has been sixes with a stock ECU and a stock 6R80 case. Like,
yeah, so it's
like
crazy
on the planet that I know of.
So, you know, in junior and senior, and I mean, all of you guys have mastered it, and it's taken you years to do it. Now, Holly, you download it, and you download the V6 latest beta, V6 400 or whatever it's out now, and you look at it and say, wow, this is super fucking easy. You know, it's like, but on the HP tuners, for example, you have to go in the user defined stuff and you have to fucking create your own shit. And if it's not available, you have to create your trans brake table shit going on. I mean, you got to do all kinds of crap, man. And it's just, that's where the men come into a factor, you know, and them guys in the pro mod game, they can't fuck with it. They just can't.
That's what I was wondering, because you do both, right? And I see certain tuners that tune YouTubers hate on stock computer stuff. And I go, I think you hate on it because you don't fuck with it.
Yep.
And it's different to have a drop-down menu that says E85 and a completely different one that has a stoic and then a speed, fueling tables that you have to adjust when you're switching over from fuels. I make fun of Holly stuff because I know it's simple, and unfortunately the simplicity of it gives people a false sense of I'm a tuner. And I'm like, okay, then here, switch this factory ECU. I'll give you the fucking HP tuners file. Make it E85. Go ahead. And they don't even know what the stoichiometric air fuel value. What are those words? That's a lot of words for AFR.
Dude, there's probably, I don't know how many Holly tables there are, but it's an eighth of what's in HP tuners.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even in the hemisphere. Shit, the transmission tables aren't even, there's double them in HP tuners than there is in Holly. So it's definitely hard when and my best thing is I guarantee you if I go around in the pits and pro mod asking what's a mass airflow, oh, they wouldn't fucking know.
The people pointed to our charge pipe and they're like, what's that? And we're like, a mass airflow sensor. And they're like, you have a mass airflow sensor? I'm like, yeah, and it makes about 2,400 horsepower. And they're like, and then they point to the cam covers and they go, what's that? We go, VCT. They go, you have active VCT on this car? We go, yes, on the intake side. And they start to, you could hear their brain cooking. They're like, we don't even know where to begin. Because imagine you have a HP tuners, stock computer, and it hits a torque limit. Now you got to find either how to hack the torque limit or what torque limit did it hit? Like, did it hit a fuel limit? Did it hit a spark limit? Did it hit a actual torque output limit? You don't know. So all of that has to be vetted, tested, hammered through. Whereas on HP tuners, what fucking torque limit are you going to hit? Like, it's going to make power until it explodes. And you're like, there's a torque limit, the rod. So I think a lot of people talk down the factory computer stuff. One, it's very difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's very difficult. And it's a lot easier to fuck with Holly stuff. But Holly has given people a false sense of entitlement that they're tuners. They literally make shirts, blah, 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 tuning. I'm like, stop. Even this shirt is a joke. YOLO douchebag tuning. It is a fucking joke. And people seriously go, do you tune? And I'm like, oh, I do, but like, it's a joke. Yeah. So I'm blown away that thought process. And we talked about the Holly startup. We talked about all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that can become like
So
kind of, you know, people think that you can't put those tuners in the same sandbox. You
no,
can't say, you know.
And I kind of want to go on the other side of this. For the street cars guys coming off stock ECU and going into Holly or Fuel Tech.
Mhm.
Now, don't get me wrong. Anyone could probably figure it out that knows the stock ECU well. Like anyone could probably figure out how to tune air, fuel, and timing on a Fuel Tech or a Holly extremely easy and well from a stock ECU. But there's a whole different side of being complicated on the other board here. For one, when you're pushing your combination, do you deal with alcohol stuff at all or not really? Do you know like alcohol air fuels or not really?
Not really. Methanol, some, but not really alcohol. Like
yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So like methanol air fuel, like
in the 6s?
No. So this is what I'm getting at. So now this is what I'm saying. This is a good example. Like you said, you know, you don't know. You can probably go on the internet or go on the dyno and be like, okay, it runs great at 4.0 air fuel, for example. And that's kind of on the leaner side of things, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say lean, but it's not super rich. It's mediocre. And don't ever ask the internet what air fuel you need. I'm not saying you. I'm just talking about anyone.
In general, right.
Don't ever ask it because all these alcohol stuff cars are different or what they need. And that's what I'm getting at. Like, so you can make great power at 4.0 air fuel on that dyno, and that's where it wants to be on the dyno. Now, you going down the racetrack, it won't make it past a 330 because you've done acetylene torched the head out of it.
Because now there's more load on it. There's more load on the car.
Load, and it creates more heat, and you don't have no intercooler.
Oh.
So in these classes of methanol, you can't have an intercooler, you know, or they're making so much boost in power, there's no intercooler that could support it. I'm not talking 2,000, I'm talking 4,000.
Oh, you're talking big boy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, so you have to literally drown it so much in fuel, it's spitting out of the exhaust. Like,
I noticed that. I've always noticed
2.7 air fuel. Like, I'm not fucking kidding, dude. Like, so there's some times where cars come back, like different things, like that gray Mustang, for example. That thing likes to be around 3.4. Okay. Now, it won't run worth a fuck at 3.0. It's fucking dog shit slow. But at 3.7, you're putting fucking exhaust valves in it because you're burning the exhaust valves out of it.
Got it.
So
it's
it's a very,
line.
it's a very small window. And that red truck I do, almost identical motor, but a little bit different turbo. I'm working the turbo a lot harder, I should say. And I'm working the turbo that much more that it's got to be like 2.8 air fuel or it burns up.
Wow.
So like everything's different. You have to really, you can't just go off of like street cars. You can make 900 all day and be like 11.5, for example, on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
On any Coyote, whatever. You guys bread and butter every fucking day.
Absolutely.
Now these race cars, there's 2 points of air fuel different going on, and there's 4 or 5 degrees of timing differential going on. So you kind of have to give it what it wants. That's all I've always been a fan of, like just saying like what do you run this air fuel at? Like race car pits drivers, or drivers / tuners, not real tuners, but like they kind of tune their own shit. Will drive around in the golf cart, come over. I just got a strap. What's your air fuel in this? I'm like, dude, it's not even like, if you got a strap, load it up more fuel. Like, that's all I got to tell you. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to be at because it's going to be wrong. Like, I don't tune your car.
I don't know. Right. I don't know what your car likes.
Yeah. So like that truck has the identical piston and rod ratio, literally same piston part number, same cubic inch, same compression. The only difference is the cylinder head on it. So the chamber is a little different in the head, and you can tell, and it's got a water jacket head on it with no water in it. And I've really learned that it really creates hot spots in it if you're not loading up with fuel. Now, the other car, I can't run it at 2.8 air fuel or blows spark out of it because it's so rich. So it's just all such a different factor at that level. And at that level, there is no nip in a strap. If you get a strap, there is no, let's put another plug in it. Like, you're pulling the head off because you got something else. You know what I'm saying?
on the Coyote game, I think the good and bad thing is we're limited by injector size. So I think the highest injector size we see is 2600s, and if you have like a plasma man, you do 2 of them. But we never see guys really do methanol like 100%. I think Brett probably has a 50-50 mix. We've mixed up to 30%, and we still can get away with because we have such a good fuel pump, we can get away with a lot of fuel pressure, and we have 2600s, a single 2600. We're going to go with a dual coming up. So we haven't really dabbled in it too much because the Stoic doesn't get any further down than in the eights. It doesn't get any lower than the eights. So we're fairly conservative on that front because we're not like running full meth on the deal. We might eventually because we have a mechanical fuel pump, but that is all depending on, because then it goes away from like what we're even known for. Let's say, for instance, we do a Holly or MoTeC race car. It's not gonna drive any business towards us because it's like not stock computer.
That's how my green car is. Like, it's just the same thing. It's like I don't really want to go full all out on it because
full
like,
retard with it.
Why?
Right.
It's just I just don't want to. I like the stock blower, and I like doing customers I call. They're like, I want a 2650. I'm like, no, you don't.
No.
And it's like, you have a factory LT4 blower. Let's make 800-900. And if you think it's still a turd, then you can come back. And I would say 10 out of 10 times I talk them down from 1100 to 800, and they come back for checkups or whatever it might be, and they love it. Yeah. And there's no maintenance involved, and it's stock at bottom end, and they hold all day on the LT4. And I'm not married to the car, and it's just a lot better all around. So back to what I was saying with the race car stuff, a lot of people make a switch. You guys are, talking about M1 at once upon a time. A lot of people trying to make that switch, and I've seen it time and time again. It's like, it ain't making no difference, and it's costing a whole lot more money because you're tearing it up. And methanol is different, dude. Like, these street car guys can't just jump into a methanol car and be like, oh yeah, I can go down. No, you're gonna fucking hurt it.
Right.
Like, there is no. It's 85 is very forgiving. Methanol is not, believe it or not. So.
It is interesting. Once a certain YouTubers start going M1, you start seeing problems. And I'm just like, I bet you if they had like a very dense fuel, and maybe the combustion's a little hotter, but man, it's a lot more controllable than what the stuff they got going on, unless they're doing something so severely wrong. Because a lot of these YouTubers go out there and they run methanol and everything, like 100% meth. And the car just there's always an issue. And then I look at our 1500, 1600, 1700 horsepower customers, and we're like, that bitch is on an ID 2600 just doing what it does.
Yeah, no, leave it like that.
Right.
Like, yeah. And like, I can talk about both because I have a lot of experience with both. Now you're starting to get into methanol stuff as well. You just said something about ID 2600s. Best injector on the market, in my opinion. Well, you have something that makes 2,500 horsepower on M1. You better have 3 of them.
Exactly.
Per cylinder.
Right. Exactly.
So, or you can get a atomizer or a FuelTech 820, and that's literally the only options out there. But
how good is it? How good is that injector compared to the 2600? It's not that good, right?
No.
Right.
No.
So I tell people, build an atomizer and all these cool things. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's all they got, but I'm telling you, like, there is a reliability issue once you go to M1 and you go to these very limited style, not limited supply, branded injectors.
Yep.
And you know how many times I've heard injector got plugged up, burned up my motor, and I'm like, I have literally never heard that on a ID unless there's trash going through the system. But how many times do you hear, yeah, injector driver or injector plugged up, and I'm like, I've never heard that. It's so foreign to me.
Yeah, so I've had it happen on my Hope Dyno, actually, with the atomizer. We didn't build the car. Yeah, so we didn't build the car, and like, we're so specific now. We've learned that we've had enough injectors hang open or hang shut or whatever, and we found out why. Usually it's not the injector's issue, but it's the way it's designed, and there's really no other way around it because it needs so much fuel to get through it. Right. And it's the plunger in there is just, you have a little piece of trash that gets in there and it gets hung up. There's a way around it. You just have to spend $500 on a System 1's filter, and you got to change it a lot.
I gotcha.
But these guys don't want to hear it. So if they don't have that before they come to my Hub Dyno, I won't tune it. Actually, if they don't have it before I even tune their car, I refuse to touch it. That's how often those injectors hang open.
Wow.
because you have to have a good filter on them. So there's a lot of ways around it. You have to have a proper fuel system. If you have that big, if you have methanol, you should really have crimp line on it. In my opinion, methanol is very tricky, scary because you can't see it when it catches on fire in the
It's just
daytime.
hot one day. You're like, it's really hot in here. It's on fire.
Yep. So you
So
see your paint bubbling on the hood, and it's like,
yeah, well, I wonder what's happening there.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's do this. I know you got a couple of new products that you started messing with the V World. Let's wrap it up there because I can talk to you for 5 hours and
Yeah.
you can come back anytime. You literally
Yeah.
open invite.
I figured about 2 hours would be it.
2 hours is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got some new products. I saw that. I saw the brake setup. Is it a TBM brake setup for the rear on the Caddy? Is that what that is? Did you work with them because it's such a specific brake on that vehicle?
Not really. That's not actually out yet, but we are getting ready to come out with it. We did a 15-inch conversion on the new CT5/CT4 Blackwing. We just came out with a couple more CT4 parts as well, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the conversion was very tricky, and it's going to be expensive. And the reason why I say that is because it has an electronic parking brake.
Oh, yes.
Usually all these GM cars never had that yet, until this model come out. So we wind up keeping the parking brake on it. So instead of making a plug for the parking brake to get the light off on the dash, we're like, why don't we just keep, especially for stick cars, because they made them in sticks. So you need a parking brake.
Sure.
So yeah, we came out with that. It's very complicated because the ABS sensor doesn't, if you put the brake on, people are going to try this. I know they are. So if you put the brakes on the factory knuckle and the TBM 6th gen Camaro brake, it will all bolt up on the Blackwing and you can fit a wheel on it, but you can't fit the e-brake on it. For one, it won't let you go over 10 mile an hour without the e-brake on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but say, okay, you work your way around that, you find a plug or whatever. Then you have another problem. The ABS sensor doesn't line up properly with the bracket that TBM supplies. So when it throws the ABS light, it doesn't want to go over XYZ speed. And it's a Christmas tree on the dash.
Oh, shit.
So we came up with a solution with a bracket, and we only use the TBM outer ring because the rotor is a 2-piece. That's how they come.
Okay.
We use the outer ring and we make our own hub to bolt to the outer ring because it's a nice firm fit. Like the TBM, it's more generic. It fits a lot of different things. I wasn't a big fan of letting your brakes sloppy all around. And it could have vibration issues at high speeds and stuff. And so anyways, I used the outer ring and a caliper. It's pretty much it from TBM. Everything else is not from them. We mill the factory knuckle down and we make our own bracket to get everything, and all the lights stay off in the dash. So the 15-inch is coming. It's not going to be cheap because there's just a lot involved with it. I don't see any other way around it. We actually tried to keep the cost down because we are using the factory knuckle, and instead of making a billet one, like that's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a Caddy. It's $100,000 Caddy, dude. Come on. You know these people got it,
Yeah. And then on top of that, you need the trailing arm in the back because the 15-inch wheel will hit the factory trailing arm. So you need a different style arm.
Oh.
But those things like to bend anyways. And then all your arms that hold the knuckle on, the factory ones will work. It will be an option on the website to purchase like the basic 15-inch conversion or with all the arms. And my thing is with all the arms will be the best bet because they will bend under high horsepower. They try to roll the tire up in the fender well when you're launching at the track. So
I've seen that a couple times.
It's not going to be cheap. Unfortunately, and I'm using like really nice Hymens that are $90 a piece. Like I'm not using Chinese garbage.
They're not slapping around. They don't have a lot of slack in them and all this shit. Because
so
I've seen a lot of companies use shitty ones, and you hit a bump and you just hear everything.
I have this right here in front of me.
You have it? Okay.
This is not mine. This is a Chinese piece of crap. And I've been working on different Hyman's sizes and stuff. So we're kind of still working on the arms. I have a car out there right now running around on the 15-inch conversion with the factory arms on it, with just the one trailing arm we have done. And he has like 1,000 miles on it. It's been fine. So the TBMs, I was a little worried about that, street driving them around. I talked with them over there, and they're like, it's fine. But like, you know how that is. You talk to them and they'll try to sell you something, but no, the guy that's got it's a buddy of mine. He actually owns a local shop by here too. That he's a competitor of ours, but not really. He buys a lot of our product. We're to the point now where we sell a lot of shops our product. So
that's probably where you want to be eventually.
Yeah,
right? Eventually, just like here, we tested it. It's just an R&D facility now, and here
I want to be to the point where I send everything to him. Like I don't even want to work on cars. You know,
that'd be.
I'm not there yet, but yeah. So but yeah, so he street drives it, and the brakes, they handle some abuse. Man, that's what I really like about the TBMs. You can get them suckers on fire almost,
right?
And they still stop the car. So
now I was going to ask you about that. I had a debate with people here, and I said I don't like not just TBMs. Forget TBMs. I don't like the thought process of having ATV brakes on a heavy street car and do street driving with it, meaning a small pad, aerospace, Bear, or TBM. If you want to stop the car, like I'm saying, you want to definitely stop the car. Are you one of those that goes, no, it's fine because the technology nowadays is good enough where it'll stop the car? Or would you, in your personal vehicle, let's say you street drive it, let's say you drive it 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 miles a year, do you want a normal brake on it, or are you okay with like a little aerospace small brake on a heavy 3,500 plus pound street car that can go 9.0s or high 8s?
So it just depends. If you're putting, I always tell everybody, if you're putting less than 4,000, 5,000 miles on your car a year, you can get away with it. Well, first off, let me backtrack. If you have all four corners done,
right, all four, rears tiny, fronts tiny, welds and DOT pros, and that's how you drive.
If you're driving it to Cars and Coffee every weekend, and back 20-minute trips and 30-minute trips and stuff, yeah, you can get away with it. Now, if you want to drive the thing to Ocean City, Maryland, which is a 3-hour drive from here, no. If you want to take it on trips and stuff, no, don't do that. It's stupid, you know. But the guys that want to race at the track and get everything they can out of them, the brakes are a nice savings on the fronts, especially. So, you know, it's a catch-22. It just really depends on what you want to do with it.
I argue the fact that if you have a car that does wheelies all the time, who gives a fuck about 20 pounds in the front? Put the big,
or you need the weight back on it.
Yeah. Put the Willwoods in the front, like a nice light 6-pot Willwood that says, because my GT500 has Willwoods, and I'm like, why are you having aerospace brakes in the front? And this thing's a wheelie machine. Put some weight on it, and that weight, let it be the brakes. And people are like, that's fucking stupid. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm just trying to save you from a parachute not deploying and ended up in the fucking sand trap.
Yeah. You know? So one thing about now, like we do TBMs on, that's like our brand is TBM. You know,
that's most of the people are going, because it seems to be the better one of the ones.
It is because they handle the heat. In my, they handle the heat like good too. A lot of these brakes you get hot and they won't stop the car.
Right. It just keeps accelerating.
Yeah. So, so now it's one of them things where I'm not a big fan of the look of them, to be honest with you, on a 18-inch front runner, on a big car. It just kind of looks goofy. Like my car, for example, it's okay. It's not, but I don't know. I like the look of a factory
brake,
carbon like ceramic, or a big one, or just even regular metal, like you said, factory, Brembo 6-piston. It's good looking, so it just depends what you want to do. If you're mainly racing it, if you're racing it more than you street drive it, absolutely do the brakes. But if you're street driving it for trips and stuff, then don't do it. So.
There you go. And people are telling me that I'm like a fucking retard, and I'm just like, okay, fine, go ahead, put aerospace brakes, drive it to, like you said, for a 3-hour trip, and then if heaven forbid something happens on the road and you got to stop really quickly, and you have regular fronts in the bitch because you're not driving on skinnies, that bitch ain't stopping. It's just you're gonna have issues. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, so like what I was getting at with like the 15-inch convert. If you're doing a 15-inch conversion on your car, more than likely you're not taking the thing 3-hour trips. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Right.
you need the brakes regardless.
You'd be surprised, dude. You know it. You know there's these guys that want to drive around on kill. I want a daily on 1150. I'm like, what? You want a daily on 1150, 23 degrees of timing and fucking meth mix? What the fuck are you doing? They're like, just you never know. You never know when a rate can pop off. 995.
Yeah.
Like,
No, no, I do know it's tough, but yeah, I mean, it just depends on the customer, what you're doing. Now Greg Kong's car, man, he scares me a little bit with that thing. He don't know parachute on the back, and luckily it's a stick. But I'm telling you right now, if you didn't have parachute on the back, you'd have a hard time stopping it.
right.
Because he's letting it decel with it in gear. Like my car, I took the parachute off the back, and you can call me stupid. It's mine though.
Right.
I decided to do it the day after World Cup. I took the parachute off because it's 40 pounds I saved. And, we're trying to get a little bit of weight out of it. And I think we got like 100 pounds out of it between a couple other little things. But anyways, I stopped that thing. And at the end, I turned around and I got out of the car. I'm like, I smell something. I'm like, man, that's brakes. And I looked down at it. Dude, the fucking rotors were on fire.
I like red, right?
Dude, they were literally I had to blow them out with a flame. It bubbled my powder coat.
Oh fuck! I love that you said that because a lot of people are like, no, it's gonna be fine. Because Cletus ended up in the sand trap because one of his parachute didn't open at 225. And he needed every single type of real estate to get, and he ended up in the sand trap a little bit, but not too bad. But I've always said, if your car's a wheelie machine and it already weighs 3,600, dude, just put a bigger fucking rotor and
it definitely needs a bigger. If you have a race car that's that heavy, it's heavy. It's just
stupid,
heavy, dude.
And people go, yeah, dude. I don't follow the guy and I'm not a fan, but I don't want him to get hurt. Like that's the last thing I want. And when you see that car and that power plant and what it's mile an hour, and I'm like, dude, put that in a chassis that's worth it. Legit.
The problem is people don't understand is the momentum going that fast, dude.
Oh, 225 is on a 3,700 pound missile.
It's gonna crumble. There's different SFI and cage ratings for how heavy the car is. That's the whole reason. And like, I don't even know. I never even paid attention to something 3,700 pounds going that fast because I would never build it. Right. But I don't even know if it's legal.
It's probably 35, but look, anything 33, 34 and up. I'm like,
if you're over 3,000 pounds and you go 230 and a quarter,
you're not surviving if something happens. You're not surviving if something happens, like heaven forbid. So, but if I've seen like that Farlow guy, right? That accident looked terrible.
Dude, I'm friends with David Farlow. I was on the starting line when that happened.
And I was like, he survived. Yep. And the car was just bent in a couple areas. And I'm like, shout out to the chassis builder. Like, fuck, that thing hit the fucking wall broadside. Bow.
He was only at the 330. That just goes to show how fast a 14 car is in the eighth. That's fucking moving. It
was nuts. And I love that car. I've always liked the look of the car. I've always liked how it performed. And yeah, it just kind of was a bad deal. Is there anything you want to talk about before we wrap up? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to push out there? Anything you're working on that you want to talk about?
No, just a 15-inch conversion on the Blackwing. And then the CT4, we're also coming out with both a catch can form. No one makes a catch can form yet. This is the CT4 is the twin turbo V6 version. Yes, so we make a Blackwing, or we make the CT5 heat exchanger. We've had that out for a year now, I think. And we just came to find out that the CT4 also is the same part number from the factory. So that also bolts on the CT4. And so we have those two, and we're doing, we did a little expansion tank on the front on the CT4 because they're factory air to water cars.
Are you happy that Cadillac announced that they're going to keep making these cars? Because I saw an article the other day that they're still pumping them out and a little facelift.
Yeah, they did. We actually talked about that today at work. I'm like, I'm glad they're making it for another year because
helps you guys out, because that's the platform that is tunable. It can go fast. It's the modern day Hellcat. I mean, there is no competitor. There is no other V8 stick and auto rear wheel drive 600 plus horsepower car. period. And it's cool that they're still making it. So at least you have that customer base that'll be like, here you go, drop it off, run 990s or whatever you got to do, put 15s on it. And when are you going to buy one? Obviously, you're a big baller. You're a big baller tuner that does bad. Gets paid $5,000 a day by pro mod guys to tune.
Yeah, right.
So when are you gonna buy one? I mean, you don't need to.
I thought about buying one, but I have 2 good customers that let me use their cars for stuff. So I don't want to buy one if I don't have to, you know.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, man. When I get some bills paid off and my overhead comes down a little bit, I would like to buy an unmolested C60R1 just to cruise.
Unmolested, like Arctic.
I don't even care to modify. No mods at all. Like never been tuned, nothing.
So bone stock. So you're gonna pay $100,000. That's what you're looking to pay because that's what they're going for.
I know.
Fuck.
Yep. I would pay $100,000 for one of those unmolested for what I want because I'd rather pay $100,000 for one of them than a CT5. That's my dream car, what I want, and I think it's worth every penny. You know, and honestly, dude, I probably wouldn't modify it, believe it or not. Like, I'm not like, I don't care. Like, if I went to Cars and Coffee, I'm not the person to beat the fuck out of my car on the way there and back. I just want to go and hang out with some people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like
mine, I like it at 700, but I might like it a little bit at 800. But I'm telling you, when I drove it from Pennsylvania back home, it was awesome. It was bone stock. It was awesome. I could do whatever the hell I want. It sounded great. Everything worked wonderfully. Cruising, I'm like, I can't beat this. Once I started fucking with it, I'm like, okay, it's got those little drivability quirks I got to live with, but I'll just let you fuck with it once I get everything done. Okay, bro, let's leave it there. Trust me, I'm sure next time we'll talk about a bunch of stuff, but I appreciate you hit me up because we have a lot of similar thought process and we haven't really talked much like in the last 4 months. I know you're busy.
I've been really busy.
Yeah. Right. And I'm like, I'm glad that we're at least still on the same page because if we were like sideways with shit, I would have been like, I don't know this guy anymore. So we'll wrap it up there. So hang tight. I'll talk to you for a little bit, but for everyone else, we're all set here.
All right.